private member notice of motion 27 pursuant to Standing Order 98. The member has 12 minutes for his presentation.
Well, thank you very much, Speaker. And Speaker, about 2 years ago, I moved a motion in this House that essentially asked members to say that the practice of fluoridating drinking water was essential to minimizing tooth decay and to helping restore tooth enamel. In other words, was this or was this not a good idea? And unanimously, members said this was a good idea. So this resolution, Speaker, is going to build on that by asking this House to take a position that all Ontario communities, to the fullest extent practicable, have access to fluoridated drinking water. Now, Speaker, I've got interested in this after having met some of our local Halton Peel dentists, and almost in passing, one of them talked about the danger of having Peel's drinking water no longer fluoridated. And I would add that such a motion is actually before Peel Council now. Now, our residents of Peel constitute 1 in 9 of the province of Ontario's population. And the prospect of egregiously exposing Ontario, 1 out of 9 people in Ontario, to completely foreseeable and preventable tooth decay is one that has me troubled, and also a lot of our people who live in Mississauga and Brampton and Caledon. So I'd like to make my resolution of 2 years ago much more specific and to ask the province to act, and to act in very specific ways, to take an outdated act, the Fluoridation Act, to repeal it and to replace it with specific provisions in the Ontario Health Protection and Promotion Act, and to amend the Ontario Municipal Act, which removes from municipalities the ability to opt out or to fail to opt in to municipal water fluoridation treatment. Now, Speaker, I was also surprised in the last municipal election at the number of fringe candidates who had thrown into their literature the notion that somehow or other fluoridation of municipal drinking water was anything but beneficial. In fact, it's very, very beneficial, and it's something that across the province is doing very well. Most of our communities have access to fluoridated drinking water. Just as a quick recap, fluoride is a naturally occurring element in drinking water. It's found in nature, it's found in all water, and it's combined with minerals and rocks in the soil. Now, when water passes over the soil or through the rocks, it dissolves some fluoride compounds and releases fluoride ions into the water. It's happened since time immemorial. Where fluoride concentration is somewhere in between 0.8 to 1/1000th of 1 gram per liter of the water, in other words, 0.08 to 1 milligram per liter, then drinking such fluoridated drinking water regularly makes the outer layer of teeth stronger and less likely to get cavities. And the reason that this link was found was in the early part of the last century. Researchers wondered why rates of dental decay varied so widely. And after years of study, it came down to the naturally occurring level of fluoride in different communities. For example, in the province of Ontario, Stratford is one city where naturally occurring drinking water contains exactly the right concentration of fluoride. And as a consequence, without needing to fluoridate its drinking water, Stratford residents benefit from exactly the right concentration of fluoride. In other communities that have lower levels, what researchers found was that bringing that level of fluoride up to the 0.08 to 1 milligram per liter also served the purpose of reducing tooth decay and reducing cavities. Now, something that's worth pointing out is that after the common cold, tooth decay is the most frequent disease in the world, and it's one of the leading causes of absences from school. So let's put it another way. You know, we are in October now, where in my community, I almost sound like a broken record year after year urging people to take the flu shot. And I say take the flu shot because the flu shot is free and it works, and you won't get the flu if you take the flu shot. And indeed, I have yet to find someone who's taken the flu shot regularly, as I do year after year. This will now be the 15th year in a row that I've taken the flu shot. I've never got the flu. So similarly, why wouldn't you want drinking water that strengthens your teeth and protects them from decay? After all, we pasteurize our milk to protect ourselves from dangerous bacteria, and we pasteurize our milk and we treat our food to ensure that we're protected from salmonella, E. coli, listeria, and a whole host of other things. We also add small trace amounts of chlorine to our drinking water to kill similar bacteria in our water. Now, in 2012, Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health, Arlene King, published a report on oral health. I talked about it 2 years ago. I'm going to repeat some of these points now. It made 4 recommendations for action by the province of Ontario. And I'm going to read recommendation number 1 verbatim. And it goes as follows. Conduct a review of current policies and mechanisms to ensure that all Ontarians have access to optimally fluoridated drinking water. The fact is that tooth decay and gum disease are not only preventable, they're easy to prevent. Fluoridation works by just having a drink of water, and it reaches everybody served by a fluoridated supply of municipal drinking water. You don't need private dental insurance to get access to it. Most municipalities in Ontario bring the levels of naturally occurring fluoride in their water up to this optimal level of 0.8 to 1 milligram per litre by adding the difference at the filtration plant where their water is treated. So another way to see the cause and effect of tooth decay and the fluoridation of water is to look at areas where misguided city councils have listened to the stupidity, the junk science, and the nonsense and removed fluoride from their water. One area is near where I grew up in Dorval, Quebec, where within 3 years the rates of tooth decay had doubled. Another is in the city of Calgary, where the local residents, having seen their rates of tooth decay soar, have asked City Council to put fluoride back in their water, and their City Council has refused to listen to them. In the Windsor-Essex region, there is also an action by City Council a number of years ago to remove fluoride from water. One of the dentists who's worked closely with me is a wonderful guy named Dr. Charles Frank. And I'd like to read again some of the comments that he made that were very helpful to me. And to use his words exactly, it can take a few years before the effects of the removal of fluoride from the water supply become noticeable. It hasn't been very long here in Windsor-Essex, and I've already noticed an increase in the level of dental decay. I treated 3 children from Windsor, all between the ages of 4 and 5 years of age, who, due to their young age, and the quantity of dental treatment needed, required this treatment in hospital as outpatients under general anesthesia. A child of this age normally has 20 teeth. The first child had 9 teeth which needed to be treated, the next 13, and the last 8. This is far in excess of what I am used to seeing in Windsor for children of this age. As a healthcare professional, it's been disheartening to see this needless increase in preventable dental disease in these children, who are one of the most vulnerable sections of our population. As an aside, each of these children are on the social services program administered by the city, another vulnerable segment of our community. So, Speaker, it seems that Windsor City Council chose the expedient route of saying we're not going to repair or upgrade our fluoridation treatment, but we would rather spend many more times that in looking after children who contract foreseeable and preventable dental disease. Now, most of the so-called arguments against water fluoridation range between the silly and the paranoid. I've actually read through some of them because following my last private members resolution on my Facebook page, I got a lot of these abusive messages, and I looked them up. Most of them actually came from outside Canada. And in reading them, most of them were simply paranoia. I especially enjoyed reading the one about fluorine being a mind control agent used by dictators. Now, the fact is that the real science is methodical, it's clear, it's consistent, and it's conclusive. Fluoride in the right concentrations, coupled with regular dental care, means stronger tooth enamel and less tooth decay and gum disease. What I have asked our Ministry of Health is to step up and to implement the actions of Ontario's then Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Arlene King, and to insist that all Ontario municipal drinking water be treated not just with chlorine to kill bacteria, but fluorine to prevent tooth decay, just as all milk in this province must be pasteurized and all children vaccinated against preventable diseases. And it's time for our healthcare professionals, particularly our dentists, our doctors, our hospitals, our community care access centres, and our private health clinics, not to take the good sense and the sound science of fluoridation for granted. I have asked them to use their access to patients not merely to treat them, but also to raise their awareness and that of their families, and to teach them why is their water treated with fluoride and why it's important that communities that are already fluoridated remain so, and communities that are not fluoridated, as soon as possible, adopt the good, sound, sensible practice of fluoridating their drinking water. I also just want to acknowledge the work from the Ontario Dental Association, and especially my dentists in the Halton Peel Dental Association for the help and support that they've given me, where all of our dentists have said that they see their job as helping people build a better smile, and not by spending their time and their patients' money and their families' money repairing foreseeable and preventable dental diseases. And thank you, Speaker. I've appreciated the opportunity to hopefully make my resolution from 2 years ago that much more specific, and hopefully that much more helpful to the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care and to the Province of Ontario and to my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you for Mississauga-Streetsville to wrap up.
Thank you very much, Speaker, and I thank my colleagues from Thornhill, York, Simcoe, Kenora, Rainy River, Niagara Falls, Mississauga East, Cooksville, Vaughan, and Etobicoke North for their very helpful comments, onto which I just have a few thoughts to add. I definitely agree that the scientific evidence for fluoridation is conclusive and overwhelming, that fluoridation does protect against tooth decay, and I thank my members for elaborating upon that. When it comes to accommodating what I would call the willful propagation of junk science, I would really like to call that what it is, and it's junk science. You're welcome to have your own opinion, and everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but what they're not entitled to is to make up their own facts. Many of the speakers who were kind enough to contribute their thoughts today quoted many of the authoritative sources that support the fluoridation, and those sources are overwhelming and exhaustive. I note that to some of my colleagues who asked about it, that with regard to rural areas and people who are on wells, that the motion said, to the fullest extent practicable. We understand that where people are spread out far and few between, that it may not be practicable in 100% of the cases. The point is to get the maximum benefit to the maximum number of people with the greatest effect. Finally, Speaker, Peel is the epicenter now of where this propagation of anti-fluoride nonsense is going, and there are 1.5 million people in Mississauga and Brampton and Caledon who stand to be placed in harm's way through the needless removal of fluoridation from their community drinking water. Peel has always been a well-governed place, and now we need our regional councillors to act for the benefit of the people who sent them there. Thank you.